what are the exact ways to have a boundary. This is really useful just in life generally. You're going to have people in your life that push on your boundaries because that's what happens. That's how we negotiate boundaries. And you, as a grown-up, need to know how to hold boundaries, right? The best way that I've found on how to have these boundaries is by having a 10 scale of what an appropriate response is going to be. Everything from there really isn't a boundary, you were just a little bit uncomfortable for a moment, but nothing's really going on, to physically enforcing your boundary up to and including violence when appropriate. That's a 10. The reason why it's important to acknowledge there's this huge scale isn't because it's prescriptive on this is how you start everywhere you go. It's to give you the options and latitude to do so artfully. My greatest example of this is just cultural. If you ask for directions in New York City, like you would need to in Iowa farm country, people are going to be angry at you for wasting their time because you're not being direct and fast enough in what you need. If you try to ask for directions in Iowa farm country like you would in New York, people are going to be so appalled that you're rude that you might get punched in the face. Neither are incorrect in their scope of where they are. And it's important to know that you can do the range when needed, but where and how are you going to be most effective? The key is you want to start at the lowest volume that you're likely to be heard at, because it's always possible to turn up the volume on the scale, but it's very rarely possible to turn it back down effectively. So we want to start at the lowest level that we're likely to be heard. So remember, 1, nothing's going on. Maybe you felt a little twinge of something uncomfortable, but nothing happened and it's not really even worth expressing. 2 is expressing the discomfort. And this isn't always verbal necessarily, but it's allowing the impact to be seen. This is the frown, the little mean mug, the like pulling back a little bit, the getting quiet, letting the world know a little bit that you're uncomfortable while you figure out what you want to say, if you want to say anything at all. So 3 is expressing discomfort. That doesn't necessarily saying what's going on, but it's showing the people around you a little bit that you're uncomfortable. This is where maybe you get quiet and thoughtful. Maybe you're not ready to speak to it, but you're also not ready to just be in the group and let it pass. This is where you might even just say, I'm uncomfortable. You're not even saying that it had anything to do with them. You're not asking them to stop anything. You're just like, hey, I'm uncomfortable. That's not okay. Or hey, I'm uncomfortable with that. I don't like that. But you see how you didn't say stop? You see how you didn't put the action at their feet yet? That starts at 4. 4 is where we start to talk to the person directly about the boundary that's been violated. And so at 4, this is where we're still doing it with kindness and softness. We're assuming good intentions and a desire to not harm. Hey, I know you're a great person and I know you would never try to hurt anybody. That really isn't okay. Like that hurts people. I know you're not a person that would ever want to hurt anybody. That hurts though. Hey, I know you're a person that really loves making people feel welcome. And when you said that, like, I feel unwelcome. It's really uncomfortable for me. And I know that's not who you want to be in the world. This is where you're calling out their behavior, but you're mostly focused on this is how it's impacting the world. And I know that's not how you want to impact the world. What's up from there? If these are people that you're close enough to correct with, they're probably people you share values with. And this is where you're going to leverage that knowledge. Hey, we both value X. Y doesn't go with that. Don't do that. Hey, we're both good Christians. Good Christians aren't going to hurt people this way. Let's not do that. You're going to use your shared identity, your shared values, the shared place of where you are to let them hear about how they're not achieving being the person that they likely want to be in the world, but also that you're not going to let them be that person around you in the world, at least not without calling it out. The 6th one is more about a personal boundary. Okay, this is moving away from it being a community thing, of an us thing, about who we want to be in the world, to an I thing. That crosses my boundary. Regardless of who you want to be, it goes against what I want to do. Don't say that around me. Please don't say that around me. Please don't do that around me. It's about you now. If they're past the point where having a mutual connection and shared values is going to add to their ability to do something, or it's going to be not heard because it's so soft that they're going to argue the value with you, you just escalate a little bit. Hey, whatever, I'm not comfortable with it. Don't do it around me. Now it's about you holding your boundary more than it is about you all holding a boundary that you share. That's 6. That's still pretty soft, right? 7, this is kind of military speak. Okay, this is literally just a direct statement of don't do that again. In the military, we value respect, and we value clear communication. And in complicated situations, saying directly what you want to have happen and not happen, or directly what you need without explanation, is the expectation. And this is the time for that. You're done explaining. This person doesn't hear your explanations. You just tell them to stop. Don't do that. Don't do that around me. You're not escalating. You're not pushing. You're not speaking to their intentions. You're not making threats, but you're telling them, don't do that. That's a 7. Now we're getting into that forceful place where we're not only like trying to hold the boundary, we're realizing we have to push to get it. And this is where it's important to know where your boundary goes from here. Okay? Violence, even protective violence, without violence being projected at you, is probably not the right move. However, there are ways that you can physically enforce your boundaries. You can escalate to an authority figure of some kind. So if you're at work, right, go to a boss, go to HR. If you're on a college campus, go to the professor, go to somebody who has some power to enforce some shared boundaries. Or at a minimum, you can physically remove yourself from what's happening, right? And why it's important by the time you're an 8 to understand where the 10 is because you're going to start telling them that the 10's there and it's coming. So what's an 8 then? 7 is just that direct, right? 7 is direct. Don't do that. 8 is, if you don't stop, X, Y, Z will happen. If you don't stop, I'm going to HR. If you don't stop, I'm going to the boss. If you don't stop, I'm going to the professor. If you don't stop, I'm leaving. If you don't stop, we're going to have a bigger problem than you want to handle. Whatever it is, make sure it's appropriate for what you can do in this situation. Okay. Do not pop off to violence if violence isn't on the table. It's not going to go well for you. You'll just get arrested and it's not handy. That doesn't mean though that you can't physically enforce it. It doesn't mean you can't use a resource to enforce it. So 8 is don't do it or X. 9 is this is your last chance. If you don't stop, X happens. 10 is following through on the hardest thing that you can do to hold that boundary that's appropriate for the situation involved. So you see how these work, right? We start within ourselves. We start with our own discomfort. We move into our shared values with people. We remind them of who they want to be and how this isn't part of that. If neither of those work, then we are just allowed to hold a personal boundary where we start telling them, you're not doing this around me. I don't like this. Don't do it. All the way up to physically enforcing the boundary, leaving, engaging some kind of authority, or in very rare cases, depending on the action happening, violence. It's important to have these things listed in your mind though. That way, you know what happens next. It's a lot more comfortable to take on the discomfort of a boundary, understanding where you're at on the scale and where you can go if you need to. There's a lot of confidence in telling someone kindly when you know how to tell them unkindly if you need to. It's a lot easier to be soft with people when you have faith in yourself that you can be hard should you need to. So remember this 10 scale. 1 to 10, the volume knob. When people around you are doing things that need containment, how do you contain it effectively? And how do you communicate appropriately for the environment you're in? Please use this skill. It's one of my favorites. It comes up in my practice all the time. Most people coming in for mental health work are struggling with boundaries in some way, shape, or form. I can't tell you how many people this helps navigate these complex and hard conversations. And be ready to have these boundaries thrown back at you a little bit. You're accidentally or not so accidentally going to cross boundaries of people that you care about in your life. And it's going to be important that you recognize the volume that they're at so you can meet them and hear them early so they don't have to escalate, just like you wouldn't want to have to escalate for them. This usually connects to 2 things.